It's been a whole year since I traded in my first Elite Series 2 for my first Razer Wolverine Ultimate. Keyword, my first. I've had 3. This one's been going 6 months with no issues, luckily. While my luck with the Wolverine Ultimate has not been all that good, the chart for reliable pro controllers realistically goes something like this, which isn't really surprising. But back to the Wolverine Ultimate, 6 buttons, 1 year, and a whole lot of shitty games later, that's what this video is. Today we'll be taking a look at some of my progress in these games, while more so looking at the controller itself, its pros, its cons, and the tips and tricks I've learned along the way. And it's not really like tips and tricks, it's more like small, minute things. I'll be going over everything from the paddles to the mechanical feeling, ABXY buttons. I also have videos on the Tournament Edition, the Wolverine software, the Wolverine Ultimate versus the Tournament Edition. I'm literally the one-stop god for these fucking controllers. Yeah, let's get started. If I'm being perfectly honest, the Razer Wolverine Ultimate has to be the rawest controller on the market today, built for pure efficiency for the player with very little in the way of unnecessary bullshit. So let's get a quick overview of this controller before we deep dive into the world of crackhead Razer products. 6 extra buttons to ensure your fingers never leave your thumbsticks, a wired connection to ensure a very fast, speedy, reliable, responsive connection, as well as mechanical ABXY buttons to, again, help out with that response time. You also have a media module for doing things on the fly, like adjusting your headset volume, mute, profile switchers, on-the-fly button mapping, trigger stops, magnetic thumbsticks, you guys get the picture. For the price of $160, it's definitely not your average pro controller. I mean, it kind of is. It's just your average pro controller that has a couple of very not average features. And of those not average features, we are going to start with the 6 buttons. All 6 of them. I still can't... Jesus Christ, who needs 6 buttons? The number one question I got when I first started covering the Razer Wolverine Ultimate on this channel was, my hands are kind of small. Are they going to be too small for the controller? Shut the hell up. No! The 4 buttons on the bottom of the Wolverine Ultimate are actually easier to use, at least in my case, than the 2 buttons on the bottom of the Wolverine Tournament Edition. Centered. Back of the controller. If the Wolverine Ultimate's buttons are an issue for you, do keep in mind, this controller is smaller than your average Xbox One controller, and I'm very average height. Here's my height, and my hands are not all that big, and I still fit perfectly on this tiny little controller. So if you're having issues with this, chances are you're better off just getting a PS4 controller then.
I can't stop myself from joking about the less superior console.
I'm just kidding. All consoles fucking suck. These buttons, though, they're extremely responsive, and in my case, easier to use than any other controller I've tried at this point. I personally map ABXY to the buttons on the bottom, and the buttons on the front are used for other in-game mechanics and actions, like I've stated in my Fortnite settings video, which to this day is still pretty accurate as to how my settings are for the Wolverine Ultimate. Edit, select. Too fast. M1 and M2, which are the names for the 2 buttons on the front here, are essentially Razer's calling card for controllers. They've literally been doing this since the original Xbox. They've been putting buttons on the front of their controllers since the goddamn Stone Ages, dude. The Stone Ages. While this is my favorite unique attribute of Razer controllers, unfortunately the buttons on the front of the Wolverine Ultimate and the Wolverine Tournament Edition are one of the weaker spots on the controller because the switches underneath these buttons are not all that reliable, and on top of that, Razer is like the laziest company on the planet. The software they have with the Wolverine Ultimate and with Synapse tampers with the buttons on the front of these controllers sometimes, and sometimes it'll seem like it's sticking. Other than that though, again, these are my favorite part of the controller. They're easy to use, they're fun to use, although you might notice you kind of have to take your fingers off of the triggers or the bumpers to use these, so they're not as efficient as people would think, but they're still pretty cool. Hashtag, always keep M1 and M2. Let's start that. The next item on the shopping list appears to be the faceplate buttons, so the D-pad and those alphabet buttons right there. D-pad. It's alright. Not great, not terrible, not as good as the Tournament Edition D-pad for sure, but it's nowhere near as bad as a stock Xbox One D-pad. How fucking ever, the solid D-pad this thing comes with is atrocious. I don't even know why they included it. It is harder to use, less comfortable, It is literally worse in every way imaginable. There's no use for it. Don't even include it in the box. Shit sucks. Shit's terrible. Shit's garbage. I hate it. Why is it so hard to use? The ABXY buttons, as previously stated, are actually mechanical. They give you nice tactile feedback and a nice clicky sound. They're actually really, really dope. However, like I said in my comparison video with the Tournament Edition and the Ultimate, the ABXY buttons on the Tournament Edition, while they are the most tactile buttons I've ever felt, are also the hardest of any controller to press down. On the contrary, the Wolverine Ultimate has the easiest buttons to press down of any controller I've ever tried ever. Not in a bad way though. It's not like they're not tactile, they're just very lightly tactile. In fact, these buttons are so easy to use, you'll probably notice that my B button looks worn out, which has happened on every single one of my Razer Wolverine controllers. I don't know, it must be something to do with the red font, but I don't actually press B, I just kind of glide my thumb over it. It's really that easy. These buttons are, from my experience, by far the fastest in the West, but they're not my favorite. If you'd like to see why, the shopping list continues with the thumbsticks, which are killer. Ultra-wide thumbsticks to ensure ultra-wide accuracy, paired with your average Xbox One controller thumbstick tension, makes these thumbsticks not only very easy to use, but some of the craziest. They're super smooth, they're super easy to use, and they provide a ton of grip. However, the rubber that's used with these thumbsticks is a little less universal. On a case-by-case basis, I've heard that people are like, well, the thumbsticks are slippery, I can't use them. So I'm assuming it has something to do with very specific ways in which the grease on your hands works. Not like your hands are greasy, but like human oils, you know? I've heard 2 or 3 people at this point tell me that the thumbsticks are slippery, so take that into account. I personally love them, super grippy for me, and as always, I recommend you use the extended stick on the right for greater accuracy. I also have a grip on the thumbstick to help with a little bit more grip, because I don't know. I'll leave these down in the description for you guys if you're curious. They're super cheap, and they're made for PS4, which, by the way, control freaks. PS4 only with these controllers. And those really don't even fit still. Don't put control freaks on this controller. It's $160, and comes with an extended stick. Oh yeah, I'm reading my script, and I forgot about the dome tip stick. Who gives a shit? Hey, Sonny boy, come here. I need you to take the shopping list and go get me the triggers and the bumpers. Trust me, we're talking about trigger stops too. Alright, bumpers, triggers, matte paint. Here's what I said in my Elite Series 2 review about matte paint on bumpers and triggers. Again, like I've said in previous videos and earlier, matte equals grip. Gloss equals slip. The design for these bumpers is Razer as hell, super aggressive, and I like it, but these bumpers are actually a lot more ergonomic, a lot easier to use than your run-of-the-mill average stock Xbox One controller, which has these super tough, super tight, super weird, gross, fat bumpers that break easily and are annoying as hell to use. These are easy to press down, they're easy to grip onto because of the matte paint, they're aggressively designed, and they're really, really weird, but they work a lot better. Triggers. Godly. Barely any tension, so my driving games do not literally wear my fingers out in under an hour. Looking at you. Bro. Although I will say, they are not as high a quality. I wouldn't really say cheap. I would just say they're not as stable as they should be. The trigger stops work perfectly fine. They stop the triggers at about 50% throttle, and they still work for your shooting games, obviously. But they're super consistent. I've never once had a slip. I've never once had an incident where I'm having to panic in the middle of my game because my trigger stops aren't working or something. Trigger stops are consistent. I really, really do like them. I just, again, wish they were a bit more stable. Shopping list is almost done here. We got the media module, which I did go over in the beginning of the video, kind of. You have your volume adjuster for your headset, which can also be used by holding down the volume button and then pressing up or down on the D-pad. And you also have a mute button for your headset microphone, as well as a profile switcher to switch between 2 profiles, and an on-the-fly button mapper, which I have yet to use at this point, even though I've owned this thing for a year. Yeah, you'll have to look up a tutorial on that one. Sorry. I'm a software guy. Lastly, the accessories and software. Software specifically. I don't go over that in my reviews. I go over the software in separate videos like this one, so go check that out. I'll also have links to all these videos in the description, if I didn't say that before. In terms of accessories though, these Pro controllers are really samey. 10-foot long, braided USB cable for the wired connection, comes with 2 extra sticks, a carrying case, an extra D-pad. You get the gist. Jesus Christ, I hate the accessories part of these videos. Conclusion's pretty dope though. No script. Rawest form of vCuda. In fact, let me exit out of the script. Exit out, save. No script. Raw feelings on this controller. The Wolverine is not impervious to issues. Every single controller on the market is so prone to their own issues, it is fucking hilarious. However, the Wolverine Ultimate is not anywhere near something like a Fusion Pro or an Elite Series 2, that level of I don't know what the hell is going to happen to my controller. So while every controller on the market does have issues, the Wolverine and the Wolverine controllers just in general seem to be amongst the most reliable, seem to be amongst the most consistent, and to be honest, I don't think I could recommend a controller or a pair or a brand of controllers more than the ones from Razer. However, this controller is for a very specific person. You'll be paying $160 for what is essentially one of the most efficient controllers in the market, and it is still a bit of a coin toss whether or not it will continue to work throughout the years. So my recommendation is, if you are someone who's looking for the highest skill cap for a controller, this would definitely be it. 6 buttons, ultra fast response times, wide ass thumbsticks for super accurate aiming. On paper, and surprisingly in hand, it lives up to a lot of what Razer says it should be able to do. All around, I probably have to recommend the Wolverine Ultimate and the Wolverine Tournament Edition over pretty much anything on the market right now, because the Fusion Pro, as good as I initially thought it was, and as good as I thought it was even up until the 3 and 4 month mark, mine has started to deteriorate, design flaws have started to show themselves, a bunch of other issues with that controller that are really prevalent and kind of decently reliable, unholy with the amount of skill you can get with some dope-ass features, and just a plethora of Razer things that I am sure most people would enjoy. Again, I'll have links down to everything I talked about in this video in the description below, including a link to this controller itself if you want to buy one. But before I go, I need to shout out our members and say a quick goodbye. I'd love to give a huge shout out to our awesome members: JG, Waterless, God, Exo Casper, Noah Jacques, Nenzaki, Maynard Lano, Young, Rockstar, Mr. Deadeye, Jin J4, Billy Rob Organs, and Team HZ. There's memberships down below and stuff like that. Also, for those who are still watching, congratulations, you friggin' made it. I still have to do a video on my new mouse and my new keyboard, so those will probably be coming up here pretty soon. I also have a headset that I was sent. I don't know if you can see it because of the microphone. Probably not. Who cares? And next month, the end of next month, I plan on buying a C40, an Astro C40, and that'll begin my saga for PS4 controllers, although I will probably be using that PS4 controller in an Xbox configuration. Other than that, though, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to drop this video a like, drop this video a sub, and drop this video a see you next time. A peace.